Hey guys, what's going on? 5869 here, and this is the sixth replay analysis where we're going to be going over Artur. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. He's going to be playing the Omni Knight. He just told me to grab one of the losses from his Dota Buff profile, which I did. So we'll just kind of go over what he can do. Omni Knight's a little bit difficult because as he is a support, he's not really like a support that roams or anything. But I'll kind of try to point out what he could do in terms of like skill build, item build. It is possible to roam as Omni Knight, don't get me wrong. It's just a lot harder than like a Rubik or an Earthshaker or something like that. So it's going to be a tri-lane top. Looks like he is going to, or was going to stack and pull that. Is going to get the stack there. So doing a pretty good job so far. Going to get the pull. Nicely done. Nicely done. Did tank a lot of damage there, unfortunately. Did miss that CS, I think, as well. Going to have to tank a little bit there. So it does get a little bit of EXP there, almost level 2, which is pretty huge. Omni Knight is very, very level dependent, at least up until he hits like 9 or 10 or 11, I'd say. Probably up until 11. After 11, it's not that big of a deal. Maybe even less, maybe even like 8. But you really need the 4 points into the heal. And from there, it's I guess not that big of a deal, but we'll see how it goes. So another nice stack. They know where the Magnus is. Can't really kill him, though. Another stack, it looks like. So now he's got a pretty huge stack here. And we'll see. He's going to pull, and it's... Oh, that courier could have died. That was pretty close. It is just going to demolish that creep wave, so he's not going to get much. So there it is. So it's 1-2. Pretty normal build. Going to be moving to stacking. So I really do like this already. I will applaud this. He moves from about 3k to about 3.5. He kind of goes up and down, is what he said in the thread that I posted. So nice little stack for him there. He's got a Storm Spirit. I'd say you probably should have stacked the large camp, but... He's level 2 and a little bit about 6 minutes in now. So it's not the greatest. He probably shouldn't have stacked the small camp that much as he's not going to get anything really anymore now that they're just going to kill his creeps and that's pretty much it. So we'll have to see how it goes. Another nice stack for him. Again, not the large camp, but at least he's doing something. There's a lot of players who just kind of waste their time. Looks like he's going for the large camp now. Going to stack that one. So he's doing a pretty good job of stacking so far. However... His team is now losing 4-0, and most likely if he would have stacked that small camp just a couple times and cleared it to get his level 3 or even level 4 a little bit earlier, he probably could have TP'd in, like kept a TP in his lane and acted as like a Dazzle Shadow Demon, like just wait for somebody to get ganked and just help them out here. So there it is. He does miss the heal bomb there, throws the BKB on, and now this guy's pretty much dead. So we can kind of go over that because it was a little bit of a misplay if we take a look at it here. So he's there. The Storm Spirit obviously wants to go in on him. He's getting some nice CS soaking mid, which is very important. Does the Storm have pull? Most likely not because a lot of Storms... Okay, so he does have pull. So realistically, he should have waited for the pull, which he does actually, but he's there a little bit slow. So not a lot of communication going on there, obviously. Keeps going for it. Gives him the BKB, which probably should not have happened, because it's not really that important. The heal, in my opinion, is a pretty big deal. So they're going to end up killing him. There's not much he could do at that point. He does have 2 into each ability there, which not bad. Continue to go on here. Still kind of walking around. Not really 100% sure what to do. He hasn't stacked yet, but I mean, he did stack for a while before, so I won't really come down on him for that. Buys a Soul Ring. I agree with that. Soul Ring is pretty core on Omni Knight. It's pretty solid. Looks like he's going to get ready to stack again. And right there. So top goes down mainly because both of his supports aren't there. But as the Omni Knight, since you're not going to rotate or anything, like stacking's really nice, sure. But your Gyrocopter just died top. And a lot of it was damage from the Leshrac and the Magnus magical damage. So you've got the free BKB as well as a pretty large heal, even though it's only level 2. Not sure why he goes for the repel there. Like, repel honestly does not scale that well. It's another couple seconds, but 1 point into it, giving you a 6-second BKB, is already good enough. Like, that's fantastic. 6-second BKB is, like, pretty well, really difficult to deal with, especially early on. Like, fights don't last that long. Heroes die pretty quickly. I think putting it in the heal is a lot more important than 2 more seconds. Up to 10 seconds. So I don't know. The heal scales pretty well as it being like your your major ability, I guess you could say. Like, it does damage, it's your heal, it's pretty well everything that you've got. So it looks like he wants to stack again, but there's a bunch of stacks here and nobody's really taking them either. So you just gotta say, like, yell at your carries. That was weird. Yell at your carries, yell at your mid player, and just tell them what's going on. There's a nice little team fight here. Call down could have been here for that. Probably could have helped out a little bit, as it looks like he's gonna die again. So where is he now? So he was a little bit late to the fight. We'll go back to player perspective, kind of watch him come into this fight here. So looks like he was trying to stack again. Comes into this fight. The gyrocopter's pretty much dead at this point. Doesn't need to go for the heal, which he doesn't, so that's good. BKB is good on the Storm Spirit, I won't lie. Like, giving Storm a BKB this early on is really, really, really difficult to deal with. So it is nice, but 6 seconds or 8 seconds, which is what is at it, is fine. Even just the 1 point into it is already really good as well. So he didn't necessarily have to keep putting it into his BKB there, but he's level 5, which means he's not going to have another point in the heal for 2 more levels. Which is going to kind of reduce its effectiveness because it's really more effective early on. It doesn't scale well at all. It's not a percentage like a Wyvern or anything like that. It is pure damage, which early on is like super devastating. Like, there's very few people or very few heroes that can deal with pure damage. I mean, like, if that was leveled up there, probably would have helped a lot more. Like, he hasn't even used this BKB. You've got RP, you've got Rupture. They're going to go through BKB anyways. Sure, it'll help out a little bit with the Leshrac, but that's about it. He's gonna go down as well, so a little bit of an odd team fight there. Everybody going in one by one. And again, he doesn't really have the damage or the heal that he needs to here, so it gives the Storm the BKB. That's nice and all, but not really gonna be able to do too much else there. The Storm goes for the wrong hero. Probably should have just gone for the Leshrac. Instead, it looks like he might actually even die here. He will. So even with that BKB, it's really not doing much here. So he should probably just heal himself up as the Bloodseeker's just running amok with a ton of damage right now. Tries to go for the sick play. Not going to get it, unfortunately, because you're only doing like 180 pure damage. Really not that much. 270. Maybe could have been doing a little bit more. But like I said, he's not going to have it until level 7, until his next point in there. If he even chooses to do that, he might even go for another point in the BKB. So try to break down this team fight a little bit here. We'll watch his player perspective. So they're all just kind of waiting at the tower. Those stacks as well, actually, were they taken by the other team? Because that'll be pretty important to see. I think they may have been. I'm not 100% sure. That's not the biggest deal, though, but he did stack at the very least. So here we go. The fight's going to start. It looks like they're already outputting a ton of damage over here from this Leshrac, and they do get a nice call down to zone out the rest of the team, but the Magnus just skewers in and he gets an RP off here. So he's RP'd, can't really do too much here. A huge miss by the Disruptor, and now there's really not much for him to do. He's going to throw the BKB on the Slark. He probably should have used his heal. He's blocking him quite a bit, which is unfortunate. The Gyrocopter's dead now as well. Should have used his ult. I'm not sure why he didn't even get the heal off there. So should have popped the ult. Honestly, if it keeps people alive, that's fine. I know it is a huge cooldown, but I mean, realistically, you just lost your gyro there, and that's not what you want to happen. You really need that gyro to stay alive to get his farm so we can start outputting some damage, because right now you guys are way behind. This Leshrac and this Bloodseeker are absolutely rolling you. You should just return home. Not sure. Yeah, there you go. So you're finally going to go home. Not too bad. He is building up towards a mech. Still only level 6. And using the heal a bit, trying to help his team. Really can't do much there. He's probably going to need to get BKB. Doesn't even need to. He's just going to zip out. He's going to BKB the gyro. And realistically, like, he's got really good BKB targets. The Storm and the gyro are fantastic. And maybe if the cooldown got reduced when you leveled up the BKB, I'm just going to say BKB because I don't know the actual name. I guess I could just look at it. Repel, yeah, of course. If you level up Repel and it reduces the cooldown, like, maybe it's worth it, but it really doesn't do much other than add a couple seconds. He's going to pop the ulti. Commando's going to need to get healed up. There it is. So, nice bit of pure damage. And you saw what that does to the Invoker, like, 5 minutes later than it should have been. That's a lot of pure damage. Like, a lot of people underestimate that pure damage, and early on, it is so strong. Like, absolutely ridiculous. Unfortunately, people are dying. Commando trying to farm up as best he can. He has to be a little bit careful there because the Omni Knight has no mana. Still working towards that mechanism. He's getting there a little bit more, but he's certainly going to have mana problems once he gets it, because he's going to need to use his ulti. He's going to need to use his purification. He's going to need to use the mech. So he's not going to have too much in the fight. As well as he's going to be putting repel on a couple of targets here. So we'll have to see how this works out. Invoker going to grab the eggs, whatever. Still just running around a little bit. And now you can see that they're a little bit lost at what to do. They don't really know where they should be going. The wards are alright positioning, I guess you could say. They've got one over here, which is fairly nice and defensive. One up in their jungle, which is nice and defensive, but it's going to go down. They don't really have one in the mid lane. I won't kick you, Aoi. But they're not the greatest. Do they have wards on cooldown as well? I think they should. They've got one, so they could have one more up. They're probably going to have to put in their jungle. They should probably be dewarding that. They can't see, unfortunately, even though they're right beside each other. Good old sentry nerf. So they're going to be a little bit constricted once that ward in their jungle goes down. Hook from the Clockwork on the Bloodseeker. Pretty bad decision. Not sure why he did that. He's way too far out, but that's not really his problem. He is going to go down, and probably should do this. Get his player perspective. Going to turn around. They're going to kill him. And now he's silenced, so he can't do anything. Pretty much screwed at this point. He's going to go down. Rest of his team's going to die. Gyrocopter's going to buy back. Okay, so a little bit of a rough game so far. So if we just kind of slow it down and take a look right now, the biggest things that I can say is that, one, he did stack, and that's great. That's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But he should have been a little bit more aware of his other lanes. Grab the TP. Don't put that many points into repel, because realistically it's not that great. It scales by like 2 seconds, which is a fairly long time, but early on team fights do not last that long. And the extra 190 pure damage, I think it is. What is it? Or the extra 90, yeah, whatever. Yeah, the extra pure damage is really, really strong. So I think, like, I probably would just level up the purification, like try to max it as quick as possible. Sure, they've got some magical damage from the Leshrac, but realistically, the Magnus, the Bloodseeker, even the Invoker is pretty good at right-clicking. They're all just going to just go through that, so it's not even a big deal for them. So a little bit of an issue there. Probably played a little bit more as like a reactionary support. I think that's realistically one of the better ways to play it, since you can't really gank or anything like that. You play it as a reactionary support. You get at least the 1 point in the degen aura, and you kind of use it as like a counter initiation, like counter ganking hero. They're going in on your mid laner, you TP in, you heal them up, and now you've got a 10% slow as well as a free BKB for your Storm Spirit, and like you should be able to turn around a gank that way, or at least keep them alive, which is the most important thing. You just got to keep them alive, because the heroes on the other team here are really good at snowballing. Leshrac, fantastic at just snowballing off his like lane domination. Bloodseeker, fantastic at snowballing off his ganks. Invoker, same thing, fantastic at snowballing off his ganks. Magnus, not really a snowballer, but he's more of like a team fighter that you just kind of have to watch out for. But he wasn't really an issue early on. You had a pretty nice thing going on there with those stacks and the pulling. I think if you're going to stack and pull the small camp, you don't want to stack it that many times, because then your creeps just die. And like you get nothing from it. Like sure, your carry gets like like, you know, you deny from the offlane or whatever, but you don't get any levels from it. And then you're like level 2 6 minutes into the game, which normally is all right at like high level Dota, when they know how to really get the most out of their abilities early on, and they rotate and they get ganks to make up for it, yada yada. They're also not playing Omni Knight. But I think you just have to be a little bit more aware of what you're doing. Like it probably felt like in this game you did a lot right. It probably felt like, oh, what the heck, I stacked early on. This is whatever, like my team's fault. What are they doing? And I'm not trying to come down really hard on you. Oh wow, Bloodseeker. You did the right things just at the wrong time, if that makes sense. So you stacked. Nobody could really use them. Your team was down 4-0. So maybe just recognizing that, like, I know maybe you don't main Omni or you're not playing them all the time, but just recognizing that Omni Knight should have been played as like a more of a reactionary support here would have been a very important. And you do get the mechanism, which is nice, because you're ready for team fights early on. It will give you a few mana issues, because I think it's like, 225 mana. So it's 225 mana, which is like almost half your mana pool. And then from there you gotta cast alt and your heal. So it's a little bit unfortunate. I'm not sure what the Disruptor has. He was actually going for a mech himself, so maybe a little bit of miscommunication between the two of you there. You probably should have said something, and so should he have, so it's not just you. But unfortunately, you just kind of got to watch your movements. Omni Knight can be a fantastic hero. You just have to be very aware of your movements, like where you're going to be, where they're going to be. The Invoker's really solid at dealing with the Storm Spirit early on because he doesn't really have an escape. He just kind of has to tank Cold Snap or whatever it is that he'll have invoked here. So just got to be aware of that. If you can save your heroes, you've already done a fantastic job. And you'll scale pretty well into the late game against this team because of your BKBs. As well as your ultimate, as well as really good later on in the game, preventing all that physical damage. And the early pure damage is so unreal. Like I can't even stress that enough. So just a little bit of an odd build to kind of keep your mind on. Just work on your builds. Work on recognizing like what abilities scale well. What abilities do I really need to be effective? Things like that you should be thinking of. Which unfortunately. I'm not saying you didn't, but unfortunately you didn't choose the proper ones this game and everything. Your team's going ham. You guys should not be outside of your base. Unfortunately, you got like 3 hit right there. That was pretty disgusting. But they're very far ahead now, so not really much more to say about it. You certainly tried your best. If we want to go over like a couple points, you did a great job stacking and pulling early on. You did go a little bit too much, which meant you didn't get any levels from it or anything really. I think maybe 1 creep died instead of almost all of them dying, which is what you need to happen. You went and stacked camps, which isn't bad, but because of that, your teammates died, and I think it's more important to be reactionary and TP to help and save your teammates in this case, because this enemy team is very snowball oriented. A little bit of misscaling. You probably shouldn't have had repel that high since it doesn't really do too much for you. You probably should have gone for the purification max. I think that would have helped out a lot as well. It's kind of tough. I wish I could have done like a more complex support, like a Rubik or something. I tried to find another game, but unfortunately you only play like a few games a day. So I couldn't go that far back because the replays were expired, but hopefully like this helps you out just with your general support play. You just have to be aware, like stacking is good, but you have to kind of see it as an opportunity cost. Like what are you losing by stacking? And in this case, unfortunately, you lost a couple heroes around the map that potentially you could have saved. Top lane, there was a fight where your gyrocopter died, which is very important. And sure, you had a stack, but he probably lost more than what that stack was worth by dying, losing some unreliable gold, and then being dead for whatever 20 seconds, 30 seconds, where he wasn't farming, which is pretty huge. Anytime you're not farming, you're pretty much screwed as a carry. So just some things like that are kind of general things for any support. So by all means, please keep stacking. Just be aware of what you're losing or what you're giving up by stacking in general, because unfortunately you did give up a couple other lanes by stacking, and it didn't end up working out in your favor. So hopefully you'll be getting better, and this did help you a little bit. I know Omni Knight's not necessarily the best hero, but these were like some of your most recent games, and I probably should have just grabbed a win even though you wanted a loss, but nevertheless, you did play well, and so did the other team. So good job to both of you guys, and hopefully this does help you out a little bit. And I guess we'll be done here. I hope I didn't just zoom through it too quickly, but it's kind of tough to point out things since like normally you could talk about a lot of complex things, like if you're playing like a Rubik or an Earthshaker, like a lot about rotating and what it's like being off the map and pressuring the enemy. But I mean, as an Omni Knight, you can't really do that, unfortunately, because he doesn't gank or anything like that. So it was a good game. You guys definitely put all you had into it, and unfortunately you didn't come out with a win. So hopefully you go on and you learn from this, and you get a little bit better. Thanks again for sending in the game, and hopefully if anybody else is watching this, I'll be going on to episode 7 next, or I guess replay number 7. Probably be naming it a little bit better, and hopefully I'll be able to go a little bit more in depth for some of these people that are hoping for something a little bit more than just generalization. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to check out some of my other videos. I have my series from lane to lane where I just cast some everyday pubs that you guys send me. I also do some more professional pubs like games from Koikva, Miracle, whoever I can get my hands on from Dodo Buff. I have a learning series as well, so feel free to check that out. There's some more info in the description as well as some videos linked in the annotations at the end here. Thanks a lot.